Welcome everybody. How you guys doing? Hey, got another video for you guys. And before we get started, I want to let you guys know something about me, what I've been doing and whatnot. I had some things going on. It was work related, so you didn't get the video earlier than normal. So hey, I'm coming on here to kind of make up for the time that I didn't give you the video. Should have been out earlier today, but we are here now. And first and foremost, I want to thank you all for any kind of support that you give this particular platform or this channel up until this point and beyond this point. I don't take it lightly when you guys come on here and watch me. Most of the time, I'm on here for about an hour at any time, and I understand that's a long time to sit here and watch somebody talk about a team that you love and some of the different things going on with it. So this particular video, we got some things that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about could the Ravens be looking at signing a safety in free agency, one to the likes of Justin Simmons. Since he's still a free agent, I will imagine he would be very, very, very picky about what team he wants to go to at this point in his career. And I don't think it's about the money for him as more as would be about trying to win a Super Bowl or going to a Super Bowl contender. So, and we're going to talk about one of the hot topics in the NFL community this week. Well, it's been for a few weeks now. Is Jalen Hurts now a consensus top 10 quarterback in the NFL? And I know some people we gotta have the discussion, but I know there are mixed feelings out there. Some people say, hey, the Super Bowl win solidified him being a top 10 quarterback. Some people are saying, hey, no, he's not a top 10 quarterback because he's not comparable to the other quarterbacks that we put in the top 10. And I'm going to kind of give you guys my perspective and why I think he is and why I think some people would think he isn't. I'll give you guys my perspective on Jalen Hurts. And then we're going to talk about Marcus Williams. He got on a podcast and he said something about, the Ravens and their communication along with the scheme, some of the stuff that they've asked him to do and whatnot. And I'll kind of give my insight on that, and then we'll go from there. So, for me, I can see it from both sides of the coin, if you will. Having been a coach, especially a secondary coach, I can kind of see where things go wrong when it comes down to the player and the coach, and then the product that's on the field. So that's what we got going on this particular episode. But I am letting you guys know before. I know some of you guys love to see my nice looking slides, but my slides are not up here. I'm not going to put any slides up here. We're just going to talk to you guys for a little bit, and then we'll go from there. And then the other subject I didn't tell you guys about. Other subject we're going to talk about is Roquan Smith and his preparation. Is he going to look sluggish and slow for the first couple of weeks of the season, or did he hear the noise from the fan base, from the analysts in the sporting community, and he heard those particular critiques? And is he going to be better prepared come week one for the Baltimore Ravens? So, all right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Again, like I said, I don't have any slides, but I am going to talk to you. I may share my screen with you guys so you guys can see what I'm looking at, and we can go from there. All right, so first things first, I'm going to talk about something that I think the Ravens could be looking at doing. But the Ravens love to say right player, right price. And since we haven't got a definitive answer on for the safety, the third safety option, I know we got Malachi Starks. I know we got Kyle Hamilton. I know they was giving Jalen Armour-Davis a look at it. Some people believe Chidobe Awuzie could have been put in that particular role. Some people believe the young guys, Sanusi Kane and Bo Braid, could have been in those particular in the mix for that. and I welcome any one of those particular opportunities. I welcome either one of them. If indeed the Ravens feel good about it, I want to see what it looks like. I'm not against anything that the Ravens wants to put out there, and again, whatever they put out there, I'll kind of let you guys in on what do I think about it, and so forth and so on. So when it comes down to Justin Simmons, the reason why I would love to have a player like a Justin Simmons is because Justin Simmons can come up closer towards the line of scrimmage. Not so much to be a box safety, but he can play in space. If you, let's say, hey, we were running a blitz from the boundary, and now we need the safety to come down and cover that area, the curl flat area as the cornerback blitzes. And I got it. That's very specific, but he is savvy enough to where he can do that and take things away and whatnot. So for me, you essentially had three free safeties, and those three free safeties basically saying, "Hey, look, we get you in a third and long. I will trust either one of those three guys in a third. Kyle Hamilton, Malachi Starks, or Justin Simmons. I trust either one of those guys in the third, or even in quarters. If we was to do it in quarters, we have those two safeties, and then we have somebody patrolling the middle of the field, or the curl flats. I would trust those guys in any one of those type of coverages and whatnot. So I just feel like, hey, a player like that, again, increases your versatility as a defense. So again, absolutely, I would love if the Ravens are kicking the can down the road and trying to find out what would it take to bring a player like Justin Simmons into the fray for the Baltimore Ravens. I would love it, especially with the cornerback depth that we have right now, because we're not even talking about some of the young cornerbacks that we have on the roster. And I just again, you can never have enough corners until it comes late January, and then we're screaming about, hey, man, we need to have better cornerback play or more cornerbacks or healthy cornerbacks, because the cornerbacks is just like a wide receiver when it comes down to getting dinged up and nicked up throughout the season. So you got to kind of have guys you can kind of plug and play, not so much a replace. I don't like saying replace, because replace is basically, when you say replace, it's like more of like a permanent thing when I think of. So I say, hey, that person can't come in and give you the same thing this particular receiver was giving you, or this particular defensive back was giving you. And cornerback just happened to be one of those spots to work. Hey, a guy jumps out his break, bam, there you go, goes down with a hamstring for 2 weeks. Now who are we going to put in there? I would rather the Ravens not have to go sign a veteran in the middle of the season, or a young guy that wasn't on the team in the middle of the season because somebody went down. I would rather them not having to do that. I would rather them say, okay, look, we're going to load up on as many as wide receivers and cornerbacks as we can, and then we'll go from there when it comes down to our particular needs. All right. So with Justin Simmons, if we can get him at a team-friendly deal, saying, hey, look, I believe the Ravens are one of the closest teams to a Super Bowl. I want to go out there and improve myself to them and go win a Super Bowl. I'm game for it. The other thing I like about this particular signing, if it was to happen, he loves to kill the Chiefs. He loves to kill the Chiefs. So I just feel like, hey, again, that's more icing on the cake when it comes down to the Ravens getting over the hump. And if you're going to do it, why not load up on people that know the Chiefs, that has played the Chiefs, tooth and nail, really, really close in some of the games in their division when he was with the Broncos, playing the Chiefs pretty good, man. And to the point to where he was like a thorn in the side for a quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. So I just feel like, hey, again, if he is looking around saying, hey, look, I want to go to a contender, I'm thinking, hey, why not the Baltimore Ravens at this point? We have a void to need to be filled with the safety, and it just feels like the right thing to do, especially with us being in a 3-high safety look. So this, for me, it seems like it's a perfect marriage. So why not? Okay. Again, especially if he's not looking to break the bank. So again, it makes perfect sense for him. and make perfect sense for the Baltimore Ravens. But it's just a matter of like, hey, have they been talking? Have there been some discussions about Justin Simmons' availability and would he like to come to Baltimore? I know for a fact, like, hey, the cold is not an issue. Him being in the Broncos for a while. So I think the cold wouldn't be an issue for him. Culture, I know the culture wouldn't be an issue for him. Him being with the Broncos, I felt like, hey, this would be a breath of fresh air from him coming from the Falcons organization and then now playing with the Baltimore Ravens. He'll see we run things a little bit differently and we do things a little bit differently as an organization. And I think he would appreciate that as a veteran. So but if you guys got any comments or any kind of questions or anything, please feel free to let me know. I did hit the button this time, so I will see your comments if you say anything, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, or whatever it may be, and then I will try and answer your questions as quick as possible. All right. So moving on to the next one. Next one would be Roquan Smith coming in fat again or out of shape or sluggish, as somebody described it on X. And I feel, hey, some players or kind of in a mode of, hey, I do certain things and I always got a chance to ramp it up and get in playing shape as the season goes on because it's a long season. Do I agree with that? I don't agree with that. Here's the reason why I don't agree with that. Because some of those games early on help shapeshift your playoff route to the Super Bowl. So if we're sitting here saying, hey, okay, look, man, our strength of schedule, we play, let's say our strength of schedule, strength of schedule would be a top 10 strength of schedule, right? If that's a top 10 strength of schedule and we are facing, 4 out of the 6 last playoff team or 4 out of 7 last playoff team. And if that is the case, now we are basically losing those games early on to those teams. And then now it puts us in a no lose situation. We cannot lose any games in the last part of the season, especially this particular season, because this particular season, I want to say in the last 6 weeks, we got 2 games against the Steelers, 2 games against the 2 games against the Steelers, 2 games against the Bengals, 1 against the Patriots, and 1 against the Packers. So right then and there, those are 5 potential playoff shaping games that you got to win, or could be for the division, right? Depend on what happens in the first couple of games for the division. In fact, you can go ahead and say it could cost you the division, depending on how you play in those last 6 games of the season. And I will say this: I don't want to be in a situation to where, hey, we have to wait to week 18 to see if the Ravens have won the division or whatnot. I just do not want to be in that situation. I would prefer to be 4-0, 5-0, week 17, and then, hey, look, that last particular game is like, all right, man, we don't really need this. I'm not sitting saying we need some rest, but I would rather use that game to get somebody else some more reps to where now if the playoffs happen and somebody gets nicked, we have some kind of person that's ready to go, that got rid of all their butterflies, to where now, hey, it's the second game of the playoffs and we were asking this person to play. Hey, guess what? That person already got all their jitters out. The person has got, and I got it, the playoffs are totally different. But what I am sitting there saying is that, hey, I'm used to being out on the field, playing in meaningful games or playing in a game period, whether it be in a hostile crowd, whether it be in a home crowd. I'm used to it. I don't have any kind of jitters or whatnot. Because, again, if it's one of our young guys that we're going to call upon, particularly one of those safeties, then I would want to get him as much experience as I can throughout the season to where that particular person, if we call upon them in the AFC divisional game or in the AFC championship game, that particular player is ready to go and there is no ramp up. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I felt like, hey, one hand was tied behind our back when Zay Flowers went down. So again, I need that not to happen again. And I'm not sitting there saying anybody's going to go down. What I am sitting there saying is, if we get a game where we have a significant lead, why not start to work people in, offensively and defensively? We ain't got to wait till the last 2 minutes and try and get somebody some reps. I'm sitting there saying, hey, second quarter, we up 25 points. Hey, why not? Get him out there for a couple of plays. Whoever it is, X, Y, and Z type of player. It doesn't matter who it is. Get them players some kind of reps to where you can help develop them to what now when it comes down to the playoffs, hey, we have more people that can give our guys a blow where we don't lose, we don't have any kind of fall off. Because that's the other thing too. If we lose a significant person or a person that has given us, let's say, hey, we got a guy that gave us 15 sacks. That particular guy can't play the first playoff game. Right then and there, we run the risk of losing a game because we haven't got a certain player that's behind that pass rusher some reps in the game. And again, that's probably the reason why some people don't like John Harbaugh as a coach, because he's not putting the young players out there and let them grow within the game, within getting those particular reps. And I just feel like, hey, again, not to veer off too much, I just feel like, hey, Roquan kind of felt like, hey, look, we don't have anybody to go to if I'm not ready to go. They're going to play me, and I got it. He's an all pro. Not taking anything away from him. I would rather him come in ready to go, and then if we do need to give him a breather, or we do need to give him some time off, or whatever it may be within the game, or the game is out of reach early on, why not? Hey man, Teddy Buchanan, you the next guy up. Why not put him in there? Hey, we put Trent Simpson at the mic and let Teddy Buchanan run the wheel. Hey, why not? Let it happen, because if it's only gonna develop you as a team more by getting those young guys those particular reps. And I just feel like, hey, again, if Roquan comes out there not ready to go, he needs to feel the fire from the organization, not saying, hey, look, man, I know I'm going to play 17 games at a minimum, so I got time to get right and whatnot. If he comes out ready to go, I still want those guys to get some kind of reps in certain games. And again, I'm not asking him to be replaced. I am asking, hey, give these young guys some opportunities to grow. So you don't so guys don't walk away from this season saying, hey man, I only played 15% of the snaps this particular season. I don't feel like I've grown at all when it comes down to a football player and trying to grow into being an all-pro or a good depth piece for the Baltimore Ravens. I just feel like we have a good enough roster to where we can slowly work those guys in the rotation, if you will. All right. All right. So Roquan Smith, I think he's going to come out prepared this particular year, because I think he heard the noise. I don't know if he has social media or not. There was a talk that he didn't have certain social medias, not all social media. I think he has an IG. But either way, I know for a fact it probably made back. The word probably got back to him about, hey, you're fat, you're sluggish, you're slow, you're not all pro, bro. I gotta remember somebody on Twitter. They gave him a name. They gave him a name, and I can't remember it for the life of me right now. But I kind of chuckled at it because it kind of was true. He came out a little chubby, very slow, not agile. Change of direction was bad. Couldn't cover anybody. Just kind of was just like it was almost sad to see, because here it was. The defense already was struggling as a unit. But then you got one of the guys that you quote unquote thought, hey, I can rely on, or this is Mr. Reliable. If there's nothing else that's right with the defense, we knew Roquan Smith was going to be right. But then when he didn't look right, it was just like, man, is this the fall from grace happening right before our eyes? Because again, a lot of us, we're not going to sit here and put him in the category as Ray Lewis, but we do look at it saying, hey, okay, if nothing else, he can be a descendant. He can be a descendant of Ray Lewis when it comes down to, hey, okay, look, he is something that's close to Ray, that looks like Ray, that mimics Ray, but he's not Ray. I understand that. Well, what I am saying is him being a vocal guy and a guy that is talking the talk, then you need to walk that walk. And I wholeheartedly believe that he will begin to walk that walk early on this particular season, because again, we've heard it all before when it comes down to Ravens have a top 5 roster, Ravens have a top 5 defense, Ravens have a top 5 offense, or the Ravens are the favorite for the Super Bowl or whatever. We've heard all that before. Now it's time to, hey, we really got to put up, or we slowly but surely, look, man, I don't want to hear that no more. I don't want to hear them talks because we can hear these talks year in and year out, and we don't get anything from it. People are going to slowly but surely start to call the defense leaders frauds or the Ravens frauds or whatever it may be. And you already probably hear some of that from some of the non-Raven fans when it comes down to the Ravens not living up to expectations, if you will. So, but all right. The next thing we're gonna talk about is we're gonna talk about Marcus Williams and the downfall of him with the Baltimore Ravens. I do know the injury happened. Before the injury, me and my guy Matt, we talked about this. I think the dude was on an All Pro level before he went down with the injury because I want to say he had 4 interceptions or maybe 3, probably even more before he went down with the pec injury. And when he went down with the pec injury, even then he didn't get the surgery. He kind of one-armed it for the rest of the season, which is crazy to me just to see that a player visually has an injury and just toughed it out all the way through as much as he could of the season. And it's just wild to me to see like guys out there trying to tackle somebody full speed, one arm. It just did not look right to me. And my hat was off to him for attempting that, right? But at the same time, as I hate, okay, there's a fine line between safety and stupidity, right? And I think he kind of straddled that for first parts of it, first couple of weeks. But then I believe that hey, it just was stupid at the end because it was you were a liability. You ended up being a liability. And then the year after, which was 2024, I felt like hey, uh, he essentially had some headbutting with the coach. No, don't know which coach it was or the scheme itself, and he internally shut it down. Whether it was hey, physically I don't want to go out on the field and play or give my 110%, or I believe this scheme is stupid, or the makeup of the scheme is stupid, or what you're asking me to do is just unrealistic, or whatever it may be. For whatever it was, right? I felt like it was more ego than scheme because you can't sit here and tell me changing 1 or 2 pieces around and you look like a totally different defense. As a defensive backs coach, I know for a fact, hey, if we are not doing what we're supposed to do across the board on the back end, that secondary or that defense looks totally different when it comes down to, hey, look, if my cornerback is not turned a certain way and keeping eyes on the receiver, that receiver gets over the top of him. Now that particular play that should have been a three-yard route or 3-yard catch, it now becomes 3 yards catch, but then it's 20 yards of getting up the field running. I know for a fact if we call cover 3 and my particular cornerback is looking in the backfield and he's not reading his third, then guess what? Somebody comes from the tight end position into a smash route. Guess what happens? He gives up that particular play. We've seen it time and time again, whether it was, hey, and I'm not sitting there saying it's all on Marcus Williams because Eddie Jackson had a role in this as well. What I am sitting here saying is there has to be complete buy-in, but then there also has to be some discipline inside of there as well. Because again, if I tell you, hey, look, we're playing cover 4, but then you decide, hey, you know what, man, I'm gonna try and jump this out route, and you leave one of the quadrants open. You leave one of the quadrants open. NFL quarterbacks see that. Players see that. So if I see you jumping something, whether it's to the flats or you coming out of your particular zone, or even man, if I give you a certain man and you kind of just staring in space, then guess what? That compromises the defense. So it can be something as very small as, hey, look, man, you got hook the curl or you got curl the flats. And then you turn around, hey, you know what? I'm gonna run off down the field, 15 yards down the field. So somebody catches it. Now that person is getting a bunch of yak, and we got people running down the field. And then guess what? We're giving those things up. Now that increases anxiety for everybody on the defense right then and there in that particular game. When you create that level of anxiety, now you may have some players to thinking, hey, look, you know what? I know he's not going to do his job, so let me watch out for this. Or I'm going to try or compensate for what you're not doing. Hey, man, they keep beating them across the head up the seam, so I'm going to try and jump this. I'm going to try and help out. And then next thing you know, I have 2 people not doing their job instead of just one person. right? One person is already bad enough. Two is just like, hey, I don't even know why we need to call. I don't even know why we're calling this defense. We need to probably call a timeout and get him out of the game. That particular person that's freelancing out of the game, and then I can call a defense what I want to call with somebody that has 100% buy-in. Okay, and then again, even if that was the case, hey, I was butting head with a coach, or a coach was butting head with a player, or whatever it may be, the ego's got to be checked at the door. Here's the reason why. Players, coaches, some people say players make coaches, some people say coaches make players. At the end of the day, you got to make the team. Coaches got to make the team, players got to make the team. And what I mean by that is what we put out on the field. Because at the end of the day, they're not coming and saying, hey, Coach Arrington, you're going to get this Super Bowl ring by yourself. It is the Baltimore Ravens going to get this Super Bowl. It is the Las Vegas Raiders is going to get this Super Bowl, not any one particular coach by themselves. So at the end of the day, what you put on the field, your ego got to be checked to where, hey, we are sending one clear message. We're unified. We understand, hey, there are going to be some miscommunications like, hey, we took a bad check, or we didn't get a check call to everybody. I understand that's miscommunication. You can't go 17, 18 weeks of miscommunication. I don't believe that. There's no way that goes on, especially at the NFL level. If you're talking about a high school level, if you're talking about a middle school level, coaches will sit there and talk with that player, or a head coach will get involved, or something of that matter. Something would happen to where we realize, hey, look, we are giving up too many points or too many yards to a team that should not get these particular plays on us. And if that is the case, then right then and there, egos got to get smashed. We got to smash the head coach ego, or the DC ego, the player ego, whoever it is that has an ego. We got to go in the room. We got to talk about it. We got to work through our kinks, and we got to put a better product on the field. The other part about it is, if it was just miscommunication, there's no way the Ravens would have just throttled you down for the rest of the season when it comes down to you being healthy and being a healthy scratch. I just don't believe it was just miscommunication. There was something else that was going on internally that the Ravens did not want to leak about either Marcus Williams, or about the scheme, or about the coach, or about whatever it was. I just don't believe it was miscommunication. And I think it was more of a PR stunt to say, hey, look, I'm not going to oust the Ravens because I want to be able to get a job here in the next few months. If a team calls me, they need to know that, hey, I'm not a cancerous type of guy in the locker room, because I can almost assure you, you got to make sure, hey, look, I can get a chance to get a job if somebody has a need for a safety. If somebody goes down, hey, look, what's the difference between me and Justin Simmons, right? That's the thing. So why would I hire you or give you a job versus Justin Simmons? And that's the thing. That's probably why Marcus Williams didn't just totally come out and say what it actually was, because then when you put that out there in the atmosphere, now we're looking at him sideways like, hey man, wait a minute. They told you to do this, this, and this, and you didn't do it. How does that work? Or, hey man, you had an issue with something and you didn't come up online and say anything about it. You just kind of did your own thing. Those kind of things, some people interpret it differently. So again, when you put it out in the atmosphere, I just felt like he did not want to do that, to put more emphasis or more bad attention on himself when it comes down to, hey, why did the Ravens do this, and this with you, and you didn't go in the game, or whatever it may be. So I felt like, hey, he was kind of like, look, let me take the high road, if you will, and then we'll go from there when it comes down to my jobs or whatnot. But I can almost assure you, if you're close to Marcus Williams' inner circle, or in his inner circle, I can almost assure you he would probably tell them exactly what went on when it come down to the Baltimore Ravens and what went wrong. But that's neither here nor there. He's not on the Baltimore Ravens roster. I wish him well in the future, just as long as he's not playing on the sideline away from the Ravens. We are good to go. I have nothing but I wish nothing but the best for Marcus Williams in his journey to his next endeavor, and that'll be that. So, all right. And the last topic we're going to talk about, this is a sensitive one, and we see it each and every year with quarterbacks. I don't know why, but we see it each and every year. Quarterback goes out, quarterback gets to the Super Bowl, gets to the AFC Championship, wins the Super Bowl, loses the Super Bowl, We all want to put them in the top 10. They're top 10 after one season. They top 10 after two seasons. They top 10 after this. And I don't see it. I don't see how other quarterbacks have to work through all the different type of kinks and whatnot, and then you get put in the top 10, or then you get put in the top 5, or whatever it may be. At the end of the day, right, there is no definitive, hey, you did this and you get into the top 5, because you make up your own criteria. I can say, hey, look, you're not a top 10 quarterback unless you have 3 game winning drives or more. Guess what? Some quarterbacks play in the game. I'm never down in the fourth quarter. Okay, I'm never down in the fourth quarter in certain seasons. So again, you can come up with whatever criteria you want. I will tell you this though: before we sit here and pound the table, try and put somebody in the top 10, we got to remember that particular person. The reason they're in the top 10, they have to keep doing it. They have to reciprocate that particular thing that you put them in the top 10 for. They have to keep doing either just that or getting close to that year in and year out. Otherwise, hey, at what point do they get knocked out of the top 10? The other thing is, every quarterback is not the same. Because I can tell you for sure right now, if Joe Flacco won the Super Bowl in 2012, the season 2012, I can almost assure you 2013 quarterback rankings, he was not top 10 quarterback. He was not a top 10 quarterback. And I can almost assure you, if you had a quarterback through 18 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, it does not matter what they did rushing. Does not matter. Because again, I'm being honest with you, you can't sit here and say, hey, Matthew Stafford, you didn't rush for 20 touchdowns. You're not a top 10 quarterback. Again, you start to get yourself tied up into things that you shouldn't be tying yourself up into. Here's the reason why. Because every quarterback is different. Joe Burrow was not going to have 20 rushing touchdowns like Josh Allen. Just not. So when you start talking about the stats and all this other stuff, or this person won the Super Bowl and whatever it may be, you can't do it. It's impossible. It's impossible. So you can say, hey, he's not top 10. Okay, give your reason why he's not top 10. Oh, he's not top 10 because he didn't have 25 passing touchdowns. Okay, got it. That's what you want. That's what you want to go with. Cool. I can say, hey, he's top 2 because he was this in rushing attempts for a quarterback or total touchdowns. You can do it however you want to do it. I'm going to sit here and tell you, I need to see more of it before I definitively put anybody in the top 10. The same thing with Jaden Daniels. Not taking anything away from Jaden Daniels. Had a great year. Went to the NFC Championship, right? I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, okay, this particular person got to the division championship or the conference championship. That particular quarterback is now top 10. It's not. You got to stop doing that, because you keep doing that. Before long, these quarterbacks are going to cancel each other out. Because I can tell you right now, if Baker Mayfield makes it to the NFC Championship or make it to the Super Bowl, I can almost assure you anybody outside of Tampa Bay will probably not put Baker Mayfield in the top 10 or Sam Darnold. I can almost assure you nobody's making an argument. Or let's Drake May. Drake May makes it to the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl, I can almost assure you nobody's going to pound the table and saying, hey, May is a top 10 quarterback. Nobody's going to say it. Oh, you got me? Nobody's going to say it. So, again, we got to sit here and we got to walk it back on what we're talking about. And I got it. Jalen Hurts made it to the Super Bowl, lost the first one, made it to the Super Bowl again, won that one. But we also can't forget Jalen Hurts at the helm did have a 7-game losing streak 2 years prior to, I want to say 2 years prior, 2021, the 2021 season, I think. The 2021 season, he did have Philadelphia Eagles nosedive. Don't know what was the root cause of it, but we witnessed that. We witnessed that. You got me? So when we say these things, it's like, yeah, we want to take the quarterback at their highest point and say, hey, this is what you did, so forth and so on. Yeah, I understand that. But they also got to take where he was at his lowest. Right now, his lowest, that 7-game losing streak, after they were, I think they were like 10-1 or 9-1 or something crazy like that. And then they lost out. And then I think they won one game at the very end of the season. But again, that's one of those things. You're looking at it, it's just like, man, how? Why? But then again, we forget it because the guy goes back, goes to the Super Bowl, he loses it. But then he goes to the Super Bowl and he finally wins. He wins one. I'm gonna give you your flowers, Jalen. Give you your flowers. However, if I'm building a top 10, I need to see consistency. I need to see consistency. And then I need to see, hey, how do you compare to each quarterback in the NFL? What I mean by that, hey, if I was to put Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts side by side, and I just went down the list in every stat, right? There are gonna be some things that Joe Burrow is going to walk the dog on Jalen Hurts. No harm, no foul. There are also going to be some things that Jalen Hurts is going to walk the dog with Joe Burrow on. Me, I like dual threat quarterbacks. I like quarterbacks that can run the ball effectively, but I also like guys that can pass the ball effectively. Jalen Hurts can do both. However, I know if I'm going to create a top 10 quarterback list, then quarterbacks going to be in there mixed. Hey, we got pocket passing type of guys, and we got guys that are dual threat. I need you to be as comparable to a pass happy quarterback. Here's the reason why for my top 10. I need to look at this and say, hey, look, if Jalen Hurts is plugged into this particular team and he doesn't have this, Jalen Hurts can still get off and do what he needs to do. If Joe Burrow is plugged into the Eagles can still do what they need to do when it comes down to their particular offense, right? That's what I need to be able to definitively say and defend whoever it is I put in the top 10, right? That's what it needs to be. The next part to this is having the dual threat quarterbacks and having the pocket passing quarterbacks. There isn't enough true dual threat quarterbacks to fill out a top 10. There is enough top 10 there is enough quarterbacks, pass happy quarterbacks to build out a top 10 though. But at the same time, do you want that? Because if you did want that, you would end up with players like Justin Herbert. Because I can tell you right now, a lot of people would say Justin Herbert is not a top 10 quarterback, right? And they have their reasons. But I will tell you, if you were to compare Herbert and Hurts, not look at the Super Bowl, because again, the Super Bowl is a team accomplishment. Look at what they've done in their particular seasons. And if you were to tell me this roster versus this roster, this quarterback versus this quarterback, and if you swap the two, you're telling me Justin Herbert wouldn't win a Super Bowl. You're telling me Jalen Hurts would lead the Los Angeles Chargers, currently constructed with the coaching, with the scheme, to the Super Bowl. I'm not sitting here using that as an example. What I am sitting here telling you is that, hey, again, no two quarterbacks are the same. They're not. It's just not. Because when it comes down to certain quarterbacks, even the pass quarterbacks, even the pass happy quarterbacks, for instance, Baker Mayfield. If you look at Baker Mayfield has, let's say, 5 game-winning drives or 4-quarter comebacks. Lamar Jackson has 1. I'm just talking here. I'm just speaking. That's not the fact. But if Lamar Jackson has 1 game-winning drive or 4-quarter comeback versus Baker Mayfield has 5 of them, does that mean Baker Mayfield is better than Lamar Jackson? Absolutely not. That means, hey, let me look at this a little bit more in depth to see, hey, why does Lamar Jackson not have any game-winning drives or 4-quarter comebacks? Because guess what? The Ravens have been up 95% of the time in every game. And I'm just talking in general here. Don't say, hey, coach, you're wrong, because the Ravens haven't been up 95%. I know that. I'm just using this as an example to help formulate my opinion on why I think you can make a case for Jalen Hurts being a top 10 quarterback, but you can also make a case for Jalen Hurts not being a top 10 quarterback. Because I'm being honest with you, the two numbers that stick out to me, is 18 touchdowns and then his passing yardage. It just for me, it just does not do it. It does not do it for me, especially if you go look at what he has at the helm. And I'm not sitting here again. I don't want to come off as, hey, I'm trying to use this as an indictment against Jalen Hurts. What I'm sitting here saying to you, is he a good enough quarterback? Is he a great quarterback? All that can be said about him, however you want to say it. What I am sitting here saying, if we're using some data to prove my point, the 18 touchdowns does not prove it. I think he has, let me see, hold on. Give me 2 seconds. I'll look and see how many yards he has. All right. And his passing stats was 2,900. 2,900 and 2,000, barely over 2,900. So again, if you want to make a case that he's top 10 because of the total touchdowns or whatever it may be, or him winning the Super Bowl, that's you. All I'm sitting here saying is if you're going to do that for Jalen Hurts, that needs to be done for the next quarterback that wins the Super Bowl. For instance, if that quarterback doesn't fit your narrative, for instance, if it's Baker Mayfield that wins the Super Bowl next, and again, I'm just talking to him, but if it's Baker Mayfield and he doesn't go automatically in the top 10, then you become a hypocrite. So again, you got to make sure when you say certain things or you give quarterbacks certain prestige because of what their team achieved, then you need to make sure that, hey, okay, look, this is definitive. This is going to be what I'm doing from here on out. Because the last part to this is some of you guys don't even have Matthew Stafford as a top 10 quarterback. He won the Super Bowl. I'm just asking the question. So if that is the case, we got to make sure we share the love throughout the QB rankings when you build your list out, whether it be top 5, top 10. When you build your list out, make sure you talk to people about your particular criteria of why a quarterback is top 10 or whatnot. For me, touchdown to interception ratio, passing yards, and what you have done when it comes down to, hey, what have I done compared to other quarterbacks? For instance, Joe Burrow. Some people say, hey, Joe Burrow was cheeks last year. But if you look at his numbers were comparable to the top echelon in the NFL. If you were to sort the stats out, yards, there, touchdowns, there, touchdown interception ratio, there, touchdown percentage, there, interception percentage, there. All these yards per completion, there. So again, if you want to sit here and look at records and say, hey, the guy is 9-8, he shouldn't be top 10. Okay, all right. Just make sure you keep that same energy throughout your list, not when it comes down to teams I like versus team I don't like and whatnot. Because I will tell you, I will give it up. I will give it praise to any quarterback, no matter if it was the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. If he had a good year, I'll tell you he had a good year, and if he garnered a top 10 ranking, I will tell you why he garnered a top 10 ranking. So, all right. So, that was, my particular video for today on those topics. I'm gonna stay on for a little bit. If you guys got any questions, feel free to message me, put them out there in the atmosphere. If you haven't already, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel. I know this is something new. I didn't have any slides, but I still kind of talk to you guys the way through it. I'm a visual type of person. I like to see the visuals up there to kind of give you guys something to look at and see what I'm talking about. But if you guys like this, let me know. If you didn't like it and say, hey, coach, I want you to bring the slides back, please let me know so I can do either one. And then we can go from there moving forward. I'm excited about our Baltimore Ravens because we did sign Mike Green this past week. A bunch of the second round picks signed. They didn't have fully guaranteed contracts and whatnot. So all that smoke that we were seeing and witnessing, that kind of died down. People are coming at reporting. The rookies reported to training camp. Training camp is good so far for most teams. Some teams are not having a good training camp so far, sustained some injuries already, and it's looking bleak for some teams at certain positions and whatnot. Let's hope for the best for all these teams, and everybody can kind of stay on track, and then we can see how the season looks when we first kick off. I do know the Hall of Fame game, I think, is coming up in a few weeks. And then after the Hall of Fame, we are off and running for preseason, 3 games of the preseason. And I'll probably do a video about what I think should happen in the preseason and whatnot. So, all right. So if you guys don't have any questions, again, thank you for all your support. And if you haven't already, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about these videos, and then we'll go from there. All right. Till next time, I'll see you guys Have a good one. Peace.